All right, so this time we are going to focus on just drawing the vertical piece here, which if we look at our dimensions of it, is every piece is a ½ inch thick. Okay, so the width is the same as the base at 3.5. And the length, now this has it listed as 1 foot 3 inches, which would also equal out to 15 inches. And then the groove that goes through that allows for the cell phone to adjust vertically. The groove from top to where it stops is 11.25 inches long. Okay, so we are going to draw this today, and we're also going to draw in the joinery, which in this case is a rabbet joint, which is right here. Rabbet joints for a ½ inch piece of wood is going to be cut a 1/4 inch deep by a ½ inch long, and that's going to allow the base to fit into the vertical piece. All right. So we're going to switch over to where we left off last time with our base. And what I want to do is draw a vertical rectangle, and I want it to be separate from the base piece to start. Once we draw the full object, then we're going to attach it to the base. So we're going to go to our rectangle tool and choose the rectangle. I'm going to click just somewhere over here. Oops. Hang on. So it's not letting me click elsewhere for some reason. Okay, so I think what you have to do, instead of coming down here, if you bring your pencil somewhere up here, do you see how it creates that line? And if you let it lock into an endpoint and then just move out a little bit, it puts that little dotted line there. So I'm going to do it from the front corner here because that's where I want to attach it eventually. So let's do the front corner right here and then come out, click. Whoops, that's not it. Let's try that again. So I undid it with Control Z. Nope, sorry. So I'm going to come around here. Okay, so once I have that clicked, I'm going to go and type in my dimensions being 3.5 inches. And you can see that in the bottom right corner. So 3 space 1/2, and then the quotation marks, comma, space 1/5, and the quotation marks for 15 inches. And I'm going to hit enter. Okay. And let's see what that did for us. Maybe not what we wanted. We don't want it joined onto there. Let's try this again. I'm going to start out here. I think we want green. So try this again. 3.5 inches, 15 inches. There we go. So I think the answer there and the reason why it connected it before is because my camera was facing this way. So to avoid that, I think if you just pivot your camera a little bit this way so that you can make sure you're not connected to the base yet. Okay, so we have our rectangle. I'm just going to hold shift and pan that to the center and zoom in a little. Now we're going to get our push-pull tool. We're going to move our cursor to highlight that object. I'm going to click once, don't click again, and then move your cursor out a little bit. And then let's type our thickness, 1/2, with the quotation mark, and hit enter. And now we have our vertical piece. And so a couple more things we have to do to this. If we look back at our example, we have to cut our groove and we have to cut our rabbet down here. So let's go back. And I just realized I didn't have my mouse focus on, so I'm going to put that on. Hopefully that's helpful. So what I want to do now is pan up to the top because I want to draw our groove in. And the way I'm going to do it is by drawing the groove from the top. So I'm going to get into a position kind of just like that. And now I'm going to use my tape measure over here to draw guidelines. Okay, so click the tape measure, and I might need to zoom in a little bit. So if I click just somewhere on the edge and drag out, if I bring my cursor down to here, you see when it turns blue, that's our midpoint. So it's going to lock in to the midpoint and it's going to put a guideline there. And that's at 1 3/4. So I'm going to click that and now we have a guideline. Now I'm going to make another guideline. So I'm going to start over here. I'm going to click and then I'm going to move out. Our guideline, our groove is 1/4 inch wide. So to split that down the middle, it's 1/8 inch in each direction. So 1 3/4 minus 1/8 inch from there would be 1 5/8. So you can either move your cursor until you get to 1 5/8, or you can type 1 5/8. I'm going to go ahead and click it. And now let's come from over here and do our guideline this way. And I'm going to go 1 5/8 from here. Same thing, click align. So now we have guidelines. And what I'm going to use that for is to now take my pencil tool and I'm going to move my cursor until you see the X that says intersection. That's important. That you want to make sure that your pencil says intersection. Once it does, you're going to click, follow along the line until you see it say intersection again. That's important that it says that. Okay. Once you click that, now we have a line there. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Intersection. I'm going to click. I'm going to move it down until I see the X, and I'm going to click again. Okay, so now we have 2 lines, and I want to delete the guidelines. So I want to use my arrow cursor to select. Okay, and now what I can do is just click and drag a box. Nope, can't do that. So I want to shift, I want to hold. I can either click and delete each individual line, so click it until it turns blue and then hit delete, or I can click it and then hold shift and click the other one. That will allow me to click both of them at the same time, and now I can delete those guidelines. Okay, so now I'm going to focus back over to my groove. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. And now we want to actually make the groove. And so we're going to do that with our push-pull tool over here. I'm going to move my cursor until the push-pull, the blue dots are on that center section. I'm going to click. I'm going to start sliding down. And since we're taking away, if you look in the corner where the distance is, it looks like it's showing minus instead of plus. So I think, and we'll find out in a second, I think we have to type minus 11 1/4 because that's how deep it is. So I'm going to do minus 11 1/4, and I'm going to put the quotation mark for inches, and I'm going to hit enter and see what happens. And it did the reverse of that. So now we know. We're just going to go down. I'm going to type 11, no minus this time, 11 and a quarter, and hit enter. Now it did what I wanted it to do. I don't know why, but it did. So now we have our groove, okay? And now the last thing we need to do, just looking back at our other drawing, is to draw the rabbit joint, okay, which is right down here. So we're going to go to the bottom. I'm going to pan my camera around and just locate closer to the bottom. Okay. And so now what I want to do is get my pencil tool. And from the bottom, I want to move my cursor until I get to the midpoint. And if the piece is a 1/2 inch thick, our midpoint is going to be a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to click. I'm going to go up until I see that blue line there. There we go. And I'm going to type in 1/2 for a 1/2 inch. I'm going to put quotation marks and I'm going to hit enter. Okay. So there's my 1/2 inch line for the depth of the rabbit. And now I'm going to come straight across to here and connect to that, which if you look in the corner, bottom right corner, it's going to say that length is a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to click. Okay. So now I have that drawn. What I want to do is pan my camera around like this. Let me get this centered a little bit. I'm going to use my push-pull tool and click. And I'm going to slide that until it'll actually lock in and turn color a little bit until it gets to the edge. And once it gets there, you don't want to go further. Okay, just keep it right there and click. And now it disappears. Okay, so now we've just cut away that rabbit. All right. So we will now be able to dimension this. And in the next lesson, I'm going to show you how to move it and attach it to the piece. But for right now, what I want you to do to finish up this drawing is I want you to dimension it so that I know you drew it to the proper dimensions. And we're going to label it. So, and we're going to make it a component. So to do that, we're going to start by using our arrow tool and highlighting it. We're going to right click and go to make component. I'm going to call it vertical piece. We're going to leave this alone. Glue to, leave all that alone. Just hit OK. And what's nice about doing that is what that allows you to do when you go to your tape measure and you want to label it, this A1 here, the text. If I just tap my cursor right here and I bring it out, now it's already labeled. Okay, so we labeled it the vertical piece. And now we're going to just do some dimensioning. So now that this is a component, we are going to dimension it. So we're going to go to our dimension tool here, dimension. And since it's a component, we can't do the blue line anymore. So we just have to go corner to corner. So I'm going to go to the end point here. I'm going to go up to the end point here, click, and then I'm going to bring it out and it'll say 1 foot 3 inches, which is 15 inches. Bring it out to about there. Then I want to dimension this. So I'm going to click the end point there, zoom out a little, go up, zoom in to make sure I'm clicking the corner, bring that out, and that says 11 1/4 inches. I'm just going to reposition here. Get centered. Okay. Back to dimensioning. I'm going to do the corner here, click, corner corner here, click, bring it out, and click again for our 3.5. And lastly, we're going to dimension the rabbet joint. So we're going to come down here and we're going to zoom in, go back to our dimension tool. I'm going to click, bring it out to show the 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to click here, bring it. You can bring it either out or down to show the 1/4 inch, like that. I'm going to zoom out, pan around. And last but not least, we're going to label what it is. So we're going to go to our text tool, click. Let's bring that over here. Vertical piece. Okay. So when you take your screenshot, I'm going to want to see something to this effect where I can make out what the dimensions are of the groove, of the piece itself, and the rabbet. All right. That's what we want to see for this lesson.